she found a little girl alone in the snow, not knowing her father was the millionaire who'd broken her heart. Snow had been falling for hours, soft and endless, covering the quiet town of Maple Hollow in a white hush. Streetlights glowed like distant halos, and the wind carried that sharp, biting cold that could pierce through even the thickest coat. It was the kind of night when most people were home. Warm fires, sleepy pets, the faint hum of old radios playing Christmas songs that made the loneliness easier to bear. But not Emily Ward. Her shift at the small county clinic had just ended, yet she lingered, her gloved hands clutching a thermos of lukewarm tea as she stared out at the snow. It was late, nearly midnight, but something about the night felt restless, unsettled. She wasn't the kind of woman who believed in signs, but she'd spent enough nights working in emergencies to know when something was off. As she finally stepped outside, her boots crunching softly against the icy ground, she pulled her scarf tighter around her neck. The streets were empty, save for the faint golden glow of the church across the road. She was halfway to her car when she heard it. A sound barely audible over the wind. A cry, small, muffled, terrified. Emily froze. For a second, she thought she'd imagined it. But then it came again. Higher pitched this time, trembling, like a little bird caught in a storm. She turned toward the sound, her pulse quickening. "Hello?" She called into the snow. No answer, just the whisper of wind through bare trees. She took a few steps forward, her eyes scanning the white expanse near the alley beside the church. And then she saw her. A tiny figure curled against a lamppost, wrapped in a too-thin pink coat, her hair matted with snow. The child couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. Her lips were pale, her cheeks streaked with frozen tears. She was shivering so violently that her small hands barely moved. "Oh my God," Emily whispered, dropping her thermos and running forward. "Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. I'm here." The girl flinched as Emily knelt beside her, her blue eyes wide with fear. She clutched something in her hand, a small broken locket on a chain. "Don't be scared," Emily said gently, removing her own scarf and wrapping it around the child. "You're safe now. What's your name?" The girl's lips trembled before she whispered, "Lily." "Lily," Emily repeated softly, testing the name. "That's beautiful. I'm Emily. I'm a nurse. You're freezing, sweetheart. Let's get you somewhere warm." The girl hesitated, glancing toward the empty road as if expecting someone to appear. But no one came. Her small fingers clung to Emily's coat as the woman lifted her into her arms. She weighed almost nothing, just a fragile bundle of cold and fear. Emily hurried back to the clinic, unlocking the door with shaking hands. Inside, the warmth wrapped around them instantly, and she set Lily on a cot, pulling blankets from the cupboard. "We'll get you warmed up, okay?" she said, gently rubbing the girl's hands to bring back the color. "Where's your mommy or daddy, Lily?" The girl's lashes fluttered. She looked up, eyes full of something that made Emily's chest tighten. A sadness too old for such a small face. "Daddy," she whispered. I lost him." Emily's heart sank. "Lost him? You mean you got separated?" Lily nodded slowly, then pulled out the broken locket from her small fist. Inside was a tiny photograph, a man holding her in his arms, both smiling. The picture was slightly faded, but the man's face was unmistakable. Handsome, strong jawline, dark hair, the kind of eyes that held quiet storms. Emily froze. She knew that face. Not from TV, not from magazines, though he was well known, but from her past. Ethan Blackwell, the reclusive millionaire philanthropist who owned the Blackwell estate on the outskirts of town. The man who once sat beside her in a college library, laughing about how he wanted to build hospitals instead of corporations. The man she loved once, before he left without goodbye, before life took them in opposite directions. Her throat tightened. "This is your father?" she asked softly, though her voice already knew the answer. Lily nodded again, tears welling in her eyes. "He told me to stay in the car while he went to get help, but he didn't come back. I got scared, and I ran." Emily felt a rush of panic and empathy all at once. The snow outside had grown thicker, the roads nearly invisible. If Ethan was out there, injured or lost. "Okay," she said calmly, masking her worry for the child's sake. "You did the right thing, Lily. You came somewhere safe. We'll find your dad, I promise." She wrapped Lily in another blanket and offered her hot chocolate from the clinic's small kitchen. The girl drank slowly, her shaking subsiding. Emily called the sheriff's office, reporting a missing person and child. They promised to send a search team, but the storm had worsened. They warned her that it might take hours. As the girl drifted into a light sleep, Emily sat beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. There was an ache in her chest she hadn't felt in years, the ache of old memories resurfacing, tangled with something new and fierce. Protectiveness. She stared out the window at the swirling snow. What were the odds that on this night, of all nights, she would find the daughter of the man she'd once loved? The man who broke her heart without explanation. The man who, even now, might be dying somewhere in the storm. She whispered into the quiet room, almost to herself. Please, let him be alive. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and merciless, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. The storm raged through the night, turning the world outside into a white blur. Inside the clinic, the small space glowed with the soft hum of heaters and the faint scent of antiseptic and cocoa. Lily slept soundly now, her tiny hands still clutching Emily's scarf as if afraid to let go. Emily couldn't sleep. She sat by the frosted window, staring into the night, her heart a whirlwind of fear and disbelief. Ethan Blackwell, the man she'd tried to erase from memory, was somewhere out there, lost or hurt in this merciless snow. She thought back to years ago when she and Ethan had been inseparable. They had met in nursing school, she studying medicine, he volunteering on weekends, saying he wanted to understand the human heart before trying to fix the world. He was kind, brilliant, endlessly curious, but also haunted by shadows he never explained. One day he simply vanished. A letter came later. Cold, formal, full of words that didn't sound like him. "I'm sorry, Emily. Don't look for me." She had never known why. Until tonight, she hadn't even realized how much of him still lived inside her. The clock struck 3 when a knock startled her from her thoughts. She rushed to the door. It was the local deputy, coat heavy with snow. "Miss Ward," he asked. "We found a vehicle near the old bridge, black SUV, registered to Ethan Blackwell. No one inside. Looks like he might have gone looking for help on foot." Emily's breath caught. "Is he?" "We haven't found him yet," the deputy said gently. "Search teams heading out as soon as the wind calms. Roads are still dangerous," she nodded numbly. Her mind screamed one thing over and over. "I can't just wait here." After the deputy left, Emily glanced at the sleeping girl, torn between duty and instinct. Lily stirred slightly, her voice soft as a sigh. "Daddy!" That single word undid her. She brushed the girl's hair gently, whispering, "I'll bring him back to you, I promise." 10 minutes later, she was outside, bundled in layers, flashlight in hand. The snow stung her face, but she pressed forward, her boots sinking deep into the drifts. The wind howled, yet she followed the faint tire tracks toward the bridge. Each step echoed with memories. The way Ethan used to walk beside her on nights just like this, teasing her about her messy hair, calling her his brave girl. Half a mile later, she saw it. The SUV, half buried, headlights dim, door ajar. The interior was empty except for a coat and a trail of footprints leading into the woods. Her heart clenched. "Ethan!" She shouted into the storm. "Ethan, can you hear me?" Only the wind answered, carrying her voice into the void. She followed the prints anyway, her flashlight beam shaking. Minutes turned into an eternity. And then, just as she thought she'd lost the trail, she saw movement near a tree line. A figure slumped against the trunk, half covered in snow. "Ethan!" She dropped to her knees beside him. His face was pale, his lips blue, breath shallow but there. His hand still clutched a broken phone and a thin silver chain. the other half of Lily's locket. Emily's tears mixed with snow as she pressed her fingers to his neck. "Thank God," she whispered. "You're alive." His eyelids fluttered. A faint, hoarse voice escaped his lips. "Emily!" Her breath caught. "Yes, it's me." He blinked slowly, disoriented. "Lily, is she—" "She's safe," Emily said quickly. "At the clinic. She's okay." Relief softened his expression and he exhaled a shuddering breath. "I tried to find help. The car died. He coughed weakly. "Didn't think I'd see you again." Emily's throat ached. "Don't talk. We're getting you out of here." She wrapped him in her coat, using every ounce of strength to support his weight as she radioed for help. The search team found them 20 minutes later, guided by the beam of her flashlight still cutting through the dark. Back at the clinic, Ethan was treated for hypothermia. When he finally drifted into stable sleep, Emily sat beside his bed, the same way she had sat beside Lily earlier. It felt surreal. The man who'd once broken her heart now lying unconscious just feet away. The walls between past and present had crumbled completely. By dawn, the storm had eased. The world outside was soft and still, a white miracle after a night of chaos. Lily awoke, blinking sleepily, her first words a whisper. "Is Daddy here?" Emily smiled gently, tears in her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. He's right next door." Lily's small hand slipped into hers. "You found him?" "I found him," Emily said softly. The girl hugged her suddenly, fiercely, surprising her. "Thank you." Emily's heart cracked open. For the first time in years, she felt warmth that had nothing to do with the heater or the sunrise. But deep inside, questions lingered. Why was Ethan traveling through Maple Hollow? Why had he left her all those years ago? And why, when he whispered her name in the snow, had it still felt like home? Morning broke gently over Maple Hollow. The storm had left behind a world that glowed. Trees heavy with snow, rooftops sparkling under a soft blush of dawn. Inside the small clinic, the heater hummed steadily, and for the first time in years, Emily Ward allowed herself to breathe. Ethan stirred on the cot, his breath shallow but steady. His skin had regained some color, though exhaustion still clung to him like frost. Emily sat nearby, hands folded, watching the slow rise and fall of his chest. When his eyes opened, they met hers. The same blue she remembered, though dulled now by guilt and time. "Emily." His voice was a whisper, raw and fragile. "Don't move," she said gently. "You were lucky. A few more minutes and—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "You'd have never made it." He managed a weak smile. "Would have been fitting, I guess. Dying out there where I left everything that mattered." Her chest tightened. "Don't say that." Silence filled the room, thick but not hostile. There was too much history in that quiet, too many words left unsaid. Finally, Ethan spoke again. "The girl, Lily, she's safe?" "She's right here," Emily said softly and motioned toward the doorway. Lily stood there shyly, her small frame bundled in a blanket, curls slightly messy, eyes curious and bright. She hesitated before stepping closer. "Daddy?" she whispered. Ethan's eyes filled instantly. He held out a trembling hand, and Lily climbed onto the bed without fear, curling up beside him. His hand brushed her hair, tentative at first, then sure. "You're so big now," he said quietly, his voice breaking. "You have your mother's courage." Lily smiled, her head resting against his chest. "You're warm now," she said sleepily. Emily looked away, blinking back tears. When Lily drifted back to sleep, Ethan turned to Emily. "She doesn't know me," he said softly. "But she trusts you." "She trusts kindness," Emily replied. "Children always do." He studied her, regret deep in his gaze. "You always were too kind for me." Her jaw tightened. "You disappeared without a word. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" "I know," he said, his voice trembling. "I was a coward. But it wasn't what you think." She frowned. "Then what was it?" He took a slow breath. The letter? It wasn't from me. My father's lawyer sent it. Back then, I had inherited everything after the crash, but with strings attached. They said if I stayed with you, I'd lose the company, everything my mother built. I thought walking away would protect you." Emily's voice broke. "Protect me? You destroyed me." "I know," he whispered. "Every day I wanted to come back. But then I found out you'd moved, changed numbers, left the city. I told myself you were better off." She looked down, fingers trembling. "And Lily?" He closed his eyes. "I didn't know." The truth hung heavy between them. For years, they had both lived half-lives. Her surviving, him existing. Finally, Ethan spoke again. "When I saw the clinic's name last night, I thought it was coincidence. But when I found her, when Lily said your name, I knew. It was like the world was giving me one last chance." Emily's throat tightened. "Maybe it was." He reached out, his hand covering hers. "Emily, I can't undo what I did, but I can be better now. For her, for you, if you'll let me." She hesitated. The part of her that once loved him still trembled at his touch, but she had Lily to think of, the little girl who'd never stopped believing in good things. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said finally. "Not yet." His eyes softened. "Then I'll wait. I'll earn it." Lily stirred then, murmuring something in her sleep. Emily brushed a curl from her forehead, smiling faintly. "She deserves both her parents," she said quietly. "Even if it takes time." Ethan nodded, eyes glistening. "Time is all I have left worth giving." Outside, the sun climbed higher, turning the snow into gold. Days passed. Ethan stayed in Maple Hollow, recovering at the clinic while slowly rebuilding what years had broken. He started helping Emily, fixing shelves, shoveling snow, repairing the heater when it sputtered again. Sometimes he cooked. Other times he simply sat with Lily as she drew crayon hearts on the walls of paper she called family pictures. One afternoon, Emily returned from town to find Ethan and Lily outside, building a snowman. Lily giggled as Ethan placed a tiny scarf around it. The sound, that laugh, was pure and light, something Emily hadn't heard in years. She stood in the doorway, arms folded, her breath clouding in the cold. Ethan looked up, meeting her eyes across the snow. For a moment, the world felt still again, like the storm had been worth it, if only for this. Later that night, after Lily fell asleep, Emily found Ethan sitting by the window, watching the flakes fall again. "You're staying," she said quietly. He nodded. "If you'll let me." She hesitated. "I don't want promises." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll just show up, every day, until you believe I won't leave again." She looked at him for a long moment, and something inside her, the ache that had lived there for years, began to ease. When she sat beside him, their shoulders brushed lightly. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and forgiving. And for the first time since that long, lonely night, Emily felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Peace. Sometimes the people we lose aren't gone forever. Sometimes life waits for the right storm to bring them home. Emily Ward didn't just save a man that night. She saved the part of herself that still believed in love. And in the quiet clinic at the edge of the world, 3 hearts learned that forgiveness is the warmest kind of miracle.